There's this article that's been going around that calls out Captain Picard. The humble... Oh, here we go. Forced to reckon with his privilege? You have got to be... No. Do not cut me off when I'm about to rail on an article. You know what? This isn't even good enough. There, that's one better. Oh, no. Maybe a little bit more? No, I don't think that's good enough. One moment, please. That's better. And one more for good measure. Hello everyone, I am MechaRandom 42, Queen Mecha, the merciless, queen of all reality, except when it comes to Star Trek. I can't quite fix that one, but you know what? Here, let's just take it right to the source, shall we? At least it's the real Enterprise, at least for me, when I grew up. Not whatever they're going to try and shoehorn in again every time they redesign stuff on this Kurtzman Trek. Oh, you have really awakened the wrath of Queen Mecha with this article. And I know a lot of people are doing videos on this. We ranted about this on Midnight's Edge After Dark. I'll link it up here. This is written by Ruth Terry. Ruth Terry has never watched Star Trek, apparently, or is so indoctrinated into today's think where everything is just a giant game of... Wokemon, that representation and diversity matter more than anything, even though Trek had evolved beyond that. Trek evolved beyond needing money, petty things like being offended if somebody earned a bigger house than you by working hard, or being separated by our differences, and letting that be a way to put one person in a box and keep them there and separate them, further separating us beyond putting just a label on something and celebrating the fact that people had evolved past the pettiness, past needing so much to have that as their only identifiable trait. It was a part of them, sure. Cisco's heritage as somebody from Louisiana with Creole cooking and that cuisine and that culture really contributed to his character, but it wasn't the only thing about him. The only part about Cisco wasn't the color of his skin. He was so much more than that. He was a father. He was the prophet of a very gullible species of aliens that lived in a wormhole, but that's another story for another day. We're talking about this one, and the fact that in this day and age, they are trying to use today's modern regression to correct Star Trek for actually being progressive and diverse and not really needing all of these things. So we're going to hold them to the lower standard that we're at today. I'm going to try not to yell on this video. I know a lot of you don't like it when I yell. I don't want to yell either because, let's face it, cooler heads should prevail. I'm going to try my best on this one to not just completely rail on it. And if I do, we'll just cut away to a commercial or something. On Star Trek Picard, our beloved Admiral is forced to reckon with his privilege as a Starfleet officer from a planetary superpower. Sorry, I cropped it a little. It's just ads. Let's get into the meat of this one. Star Trek has always dealt in stories about interspecies and cross-cultural interactions, and the way each franchise tells these stories is a commentary on the era that produced them. Star Trek Picard is no exception. I will agree to that one, that in today's culture of people putting their label on everything instead of how good they are on the inside, how much of a good, decent person are they, how well can they interact with others, how much respect do they have for their fellow cast and crew, how uplifting and inspiring are they going to be, are they just going to be there to condescend, talk down to, be completely rude and disrespectful to, or are they going to say, well, you learned from your mistake, right? And we still love you for it. How does she see this current contemporary vision? I know, we already know. Like, she's gonna say, here we go, like it's a good thing. Yes, they talk down to him and they correct him for everything. I have read through this one and I'm prepared for it. I'm ready. In 2020, representation and inclusion have just as much, if not more, importance than diversity. And I think that's what the problem is. In this society, people are more, like I said, concerned with putting a label on what somebody's like superficially, rather than having it not matter whatsoever because we've evolved past those petty differences. It's just a superficial difference. I don't care that I have friends who are whatever color just for a quota. I don't need to go and hide behind my viewers of any ethnic group that's not my own, because they're strong enough to speak for themselves. They understand that they are intelligent, respected human beings with personalities of their own, and I don't need some TV show to tell them that, and they certainly don't. I don't need as a B in the alphabet, and we know what it stands for, and it's not just because I'm a Karen sometimes.
Drop the taco. Get in the car.
Oh, I know I am. I know I can get that way. I know a lot of us can get that way. I know that I don't need to see that on screen to be okay as a person. I know that I am a strong enough, confident enough individual where if I see a character that happens to be that, I can be like, cool, that's awesome. And it's not the be-all, end-all of my existence that I see it on screen. But hey, that might be something that they need to look to the past and improve on. Claiming to be an ally to marginalized people without acknowledging your own privilege feels hollow. Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. In 2020, you should not be holding Star Trek to 2020 standards, where, as I've said before, we've devolved. It is absolutely a real thing. De-evolution is real. We have regressed to a point in society where people are back to these petty differences, and we almost got there. We almost got there in the days of Next Generation and Deep Space Nine and Voyager. Star Trek Voyager was one of the most diverse crews on Star Trek, and that was great and wonderful. And they didn't go around patting themselves on the back for it, and they didn't use their diversity to market the show. They didn't use that as their only selling point, because they actually had a good, interesting show with decent characters that you wanted to aspire to be by, not be nothing like. That is the biggest problem with current Star Trek, is that 7 of 9, like I said, a character on Voyager, was so inspirational to so many people that seeing what she's digressed into, to somebody who murders and somebody who drinks willy-nilly just for the sake of it, and who cares if she hooks up with Raffi at the end of the day? I don't, because we already had that in Star Trek before 20 years ago. And it was characters that were inspirational and accomplished. Jadzia Dax had multiple degrees before Jadzia, the host, right? These were inspirational people. 7 of 9 was an amazing person. She was somebody who had everything. She had every bit of knowledge, and she had the collective mind, and she never had to think or do or anything. And then she got unplugged, and she had to find her humanity again. And what'd she do? She devolves into a drunken mess of promiscuous, murdering, revenge, whatever she is now. Picard's ensemble of writers and actors lean into all of this. Even number 1, the dog, represents a marginalized community, serving up as a No. Here's the thing. That's the problem. These writers and actors have forgotten how progressive Star Trek actually was and how inspirational it actually was. I'm skipping through half of this, and it's going to make me pretty angry here. One of the reasons they chose the synthetic storyline is because it's about othering, theorizes Dr. Thomas Parnham III, an African-American communications professor. All right, here's where you lost me. You had to give me his ethnic group, right? An African-American communications professor. I don't care. I'm sure he's accomplished, but is that supposed to make him more credible or less credible? I mean, can we really revolve past this, please? I'm tired of it. Can we get back to where we had evolved past all of this? It's all about othering. While TNG positioned Captain Picard as an ally to marginalized groups from Klingons to androids, Picard challenges him to check the privilege he's enjoyed throughout. All right. It wasn't because he was an old white dude. Cisco, had you guys made Star Trek Cisco and it was exactly the same as it is now, it would still be crap. And you couldn't just use the fact that it's an old white dude who had privilege and money. And that's what they're talking about here. They're getting into the storyline. They're referring to the character of Raffi being an officer who got herself fired, even though you wouldn't be fired, you would be dishonorably discharged. She got herself fired and resorted to substances, like you see here. That's hallucinogenic. That's not just 420,
Smoke weed every
that's
day.
not something that's harmless. She's actually addicted to that. She's addicted to synthetic alcohol. She's addicted to these things and is just not a good member of society. She blames everybody else for her problems instead of taking responsibility for her own actions. And of course, it's Picard's fault because he had a vineyard. That is exactly, literally what they tell you in this show. They tell you that it's his fault, that everybody is blaming him for everything he did. Here we go. Picard's finally getting old. People do. That's normal. You can't fault them for that. While Picard is used to taking care of other people, his titular show finds the Admiral at 93, now needing other people to take care of him. He's in no position to save anybody, and in fact, his inability to do so results in Daj's untimely death. Despite this, Picard still seems to view himself as at least a little immortal. He embarks on a... So you're saying that somebody who's just courageous and just wants to go out there and do everything, that you're saying that that's a problem? That's problematic? Being agile and able-bodied is a privilege Picard has taken for granted, even after his Borg assimilation, and the lack of it becomes a crucial plot device that carries into the season finale. Oh, that he's old and enfeebled, right? You're saying that like that's something he has to apologize for. Not being relevant is the ultimate slap in the face for high-profile people used to calling the shots. Picard is visibly bothered when a Starfleet receptionist asked him his name, and when he arrives for a meeting with Admiral Clancy, Admiral Hubris...
Sheer fucking hubris.
Her name's Clancy? Her name's Clancy?
Shut the fuck up.
Oh, alright. Her name's Clancy. Yeah, she just talks down to him too. For having nothing but the nerve to go into Starfleet and ask for a favor after being the captain of the flagship, which is a position he earned, by the way. This was not a position that he just was handed to because he's an old white dude, which that's what they're implying here. I know she doesn't flat out say it, but that's what they're implying. She, too, takes him down a peg, calling out his sheer effing hubris. Oh, yeah, we saw that one. For even showing up with a request for reassignment, calling his Tal Shiar conspiracy theory the delusions of a once great man desperate to matter. Oh, and that's one of the problems with this show, is that everybody's so damn disrespectful of Captain Picard. Ironically, Picard seems to have thought that asking for temporary reassignment, a skeleton crew, and a low-class ship was an act of humility. In a way, though, Picard's irrelevance works out in his favor since his eventual crew only really identifies with his mission when it becomes clear that it's a lost cause. So you're admitting they're all dumb. We'll keep going. For Raffi and Eleanor, Picard's resignation had far more dire consequences than irrelevance. Like that's his fault! Is it really his responsibility to be the be-all, end-all savior of everything? Because on one sentence, you're calling him out for having the nerve to want to go around and save the galaxy like it's his privilege to do so, and yes, actually it is, as Starfleet captain, it would have been, especially here on the Federation flagship, a position which he earned, by the way. He didn't just snap himself here like I did. Oh, alright.
Coming to CBS All Access. From the makers of Star Trek Discovery, Star Trek Picard,
Sheer fucking hubris.
and Short Treks. Comes a new series that's more of the same old, same old. Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Coming to CBS All Access. If it still exists.
I had to take a second. I was getting worked up. When Picard finally does try and reconnect with them, they're not having any of it, and with good reason! While he's been writing out his post-resignation massive pity party and shame spiral in luxurious Chateau Picard, here we go. Raffi's been sinking into the depths of humiliation, rage, and substance abuse because it's her own fault. This whole article is all about just not taking accountability for your own actions and blaming somebody else because they have it better than you. Oh, the nerve of that. The gall that they have here. See, when I call out celebrities, I always make a point to say, yes, and they've earned it. Even though I don't like hearing Madonna singing about fried fish from her mansion.
Let's go eat some fried fish. Fried fish. Come on, road and go.
I still am not there saying she didn't deserve it. I think she should just shut up and not tell the rest of us how to live. Picard is not doing that. Picard is doing what he can to help, and you have the nerve to call him out for that. And he just keeps messing up, and this is just keeps further pointing out and humiliating and talking down to. And I read through all of this, and at the end, the whole point was that his friends are there to call him out when he messes up and to talk down and condescend to him. Come on, have you ever seen Star Trek? That is not how any of these people were. They were uplifting and inspirational. Yes, they were there to make him a better person, but they weren't there to talk down to him like he was the shit under their shoes. For crying out loud, these people. Right, I'm tired of this article. Tell me what you guys think in the comment section below, because I know you have a voice of your own, and you don't need anybody to think or tell them anything. You don't need some TV show to come along and say it's okay to blame everybody else for your problems. You don't need some TV show to tell you it's okay to be gay, it's okay to be whatever ethnic group you happen to be born into. You know that because you're strong individuals. You think for yourselves, and you don't buy into this propaganda crap. That's all this is. This is just propaganda and justification. And this is going to sow the seeds of when we actually finally get the numbers released and they realize how much of a failure their modern Trek is, because then they can just say, oh, well, nobody wanted to see a show about an old white dude. Nobody wanted that because he's just an old white dude. And look at all the stuff that he was so privileged about, you know, on the voyage of the Enterprise. Here, where I appear to be sitting at the helm. I should probably learn how to fly this thing, huh? Tell me what you guys think, and I will see you guys on the next video, live stream, or wherever. Bye. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, make sure to hit that like button. And if you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video. Bye.